My wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Now, let me ask you this.
And
Do you believe her?
If you've seen her, then it's hard to believe.
Yeah.
I remember I was just like, what?
The top 4 songs when I came back for my sophomore year, Click, Pop That, Bands Make Her Dance, Birthday Cake, the 2 Chainz. I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses, and I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through. So it's like,
One of the loudest stories buzzing online right now is all about stand-up comedian Akaash Singh and some wild things his wife shared about their life and marriage. The whole internet has been replaying her comments like it's the latest drama drop. And yeah, most people know the Flagrant podcast, with Andrew Schultz and Akaash running the show like it's their own digital block party. But real talk, comedy podcasts have never really been my scene, and these two just don't hit my funny bone at all. To me, it always felt like Andrew boosted his career by staying close to Joe Rogan's spotlight, and then Akaash slid right behind Andrew trying to ride that same wave. This dude is talented, sure, but for a long time, I honestly thought he was Lily Singh's long-lost brother or something, and nope, that turned out to be totally off. But here's one thing they do got in common. They both act like they can't handle any kind of real, grown-up feedback about their comedy, not even when people are trying to be helpful. And the second thing they share is pretty surprising. They both stayed virgins well into their 30s, which shocked a lot of people when it came out. It became clear that growing up, and even in his early adult years, this man barely had any confidence and didn't get much attention from women at all. Honestly, it feels like that lack of confidence shaped him into someone who let people walk all over him, almost like he turned himself into a human doormat without even realizing it. But let's pause before jumping too far ahead, because this whole storyline actually started years back. The first signs of this home life drama popped up when Myron and Frogger from Fresh and Fit appeared on the Flagrant podcast, and the tension was impossible to miss. Akaash looked like he wanted to be anywhere else, and it was obvious he wasn't feeling these guys at all. The way things played out after that moment was wild, because ever since that first tense interaction, both sides have been carrying this beef for years, and even the podcasts themselves ended up clashing. At the start, it felt like a fair matchup, with each fan base standing strong for their favorite crew and refusing to back down. But recently, Myron has been clowning Akaash nonstop online, dropping jab after jab, and the only reason he even has this much material is because of Akaash's wife, Jasleen, who basically handed him every piece of ammo he needed without even trying. The issue is that Akaash tried way too hard to present this perfect image, and every time he talked about Jasleen, he described her like some kind of flawless dream girl, beautiful, confident, but also innocent and almost sheltered. He even shared more than once that they first slept together when she was in her early 20s and he was in his late 30s, telling it in a way that made it seem like he was proud of holding on to that story like it was a trophy or something. It honestly came off like he had a whole superiority vibe wrapped around that moment, when the truth made him look more like a character straight out of a Steve Carell movie, just trying to act ahead of the reality. Even after his success started growing, you could still see that old school insecurity from his younger years slipping through the cracks. Still, for a long time, Akaash kept a solid amount of respect from people, until the real chaos began the moment his wife started speaking publicly and everything shifted fast. At first, everything she said was aimed straight at the red pill crowd, especially Fresh and Fit, like she was ready to call out the whole scene. But the funny twist is that she later shifted into creating her own Fresh and Fit style content for women, pushing this idea that wives should be treated like spoiled brats who get every little wish granted by their husbands, no questions asked. And honestly, it sounds like the main thing she focuses on at home is spending Akaash's money like it's her full-time hobby. Just listen to the way she talks about herself. It's wild. And this is only the warm-up, because the clips after this get way worse. It feels like jumping from Weenie Who Jr. straight into a fiery mess, because the way she speaks makes her look super entitled. Like she sees finances as something she shouldn't ever have to touch. Almost like she's auditioning for the role of a gold digger without even noticing how it sounds. And saying all that is real easy when you're not bringing in any income yourself. Just look at her reaction when Akaash surprised her with an upgraded wedding ring and told her he wanted to renew their vows in India with both families watching. Instead of soaking in the moment, her whole attention locked onto something completely different in that clip, and it was impossible to miss. It was clear she wasn't touched by the idea of renewing their love or strengthening their bond at all. She even leaned away from his kiss like she didn't want to be bothered, which said everything without a single word. Moments like that make it obvious how much easier marriage can be for someone who expects all the benefits without giving much back. And you can just tell she's the type type of person who would demand a rare diamond instead of a perfectly good lab-grown one, just so she can walk around feeling like she's above everyone else. It's like she wants to wear the hardship behind that stone right on her finger just to feel extra important. Then Akaash made another major mistake. He encouraged her to start a TikTok and a podcast. That move marked the real beginning of the downfall, because once she had a platform, she started oversharing at lightning speed and turning private moments into public content. What makes the whole thing even wilder is that Akaash used to talk about her like she was a hidden treasure, a rare gem nobody else had noticed, almost like she was some angel who floated into his life. But the more she talked, the more it became clear she was the complete opposite of the image he tried so hard to paint. And I gotta say, for someone who's been out of college for years, she sure loves bringing it up all the time. And most of the stories she shares sound like they revolve around partying and different guys she crossed paths with back then. It's wild how often she circles back to that era like she's still living in it. But things really started blowing up for Neon's father when his wife began talking about her best friend and podcast co-host, her friend's husband Nav. At first, I honestly thought she was referring to the rapper with the same name. But nope, she was hyping up this man in a way no married woman should ever be doing, and it came off intense. If I heard my partner talk about someone else like that, those comments alone would be enough for me to consider ending the relationship immediately. No exaggeration. Because I've never in my life sat with a friend and said anything wild like, "Bro, your partner looks amazing," or commented on someone else's body like that. That's straight up disrespect, and any real friend would check me instantly if I ever even crossed that line. Same goes the other way around too. But for Akaash, this turned into the worst part of the entire situation, because he willingly showed up on camera getting roasted and compared in front of an audience of not even 1,000 subscribers. And the wildest part? He sat right on the couch next to Nav, and the way she hyped this man up had me thinking he was gonna be some super built, super polished, movie star looking guy walking in slow-mo. And the funny part is that Nav isn't even some super polished superstar. He's more like Akaash 2.0, almost like an older, smoother version of him with the same vibe and body language, but a little more confidence sprinkled in. At first, the group kept things simple, talking about their home life and all the arguments they've had about money. But it became obvious real fast that Akaash's wife could not keep herself together whenever Nav was around. The way she locked in on him with her eyes was wild, and the way Akaash sat there looking uncomfortable made everything even more awkward. She came so close to slipping up and saying she wanted to be with this man that it felt like the whole room froze for a second. And besides all that bold behavior, she kept showing how ungrateful she was toward Akaash in general, almost bragging about how she didn't even want to celebrate his birthday, using his own money, like it was some kind of burden for her. Naturally, people online went off on her for it. Even some of the strongest feminist voices were saying things like, "Please don't make me defend a man," because the situation looked that bad from the outside. And of course, Myron jumped in and started roasting all of them together, turning the whole thing into a full-on internet moment. And their response to the attention, they acted like the criticism was somehow going to make them famous, which was wild to hear coming from a pair that barely had an audience watching. I'm sure they're not just sitting back watching this whole situation collapse from a distance. And honestly, everyone has that one clueless friend who stops a normal conversation to say, "Bro, this is fire. We should make a podcast. The world needs to hear us." And somehow, that's exactly how this messy little podcast of theirs feels like it was born. Akaash, please don't tell me you spent real money building that studio, my guy. Moments like this make me think they should start requiring an IQ check before anyone is allowed to buy a microphone, because some folks clearly don't need that kind of access to the internet. And speaking for myself, as someone whose whole job is online, I would never date someone chasing influencer status or trying to build fame from random content. That's way too risky, especially when situations like this show how fast things can spin out of control. And I definitely wouldn't want a partner who sits at home all day, spending freely and depending completely on my income like it's nothing. But hey, that's just how I look at it. Lately, there's been this growing feeling that the whole Rogan-connected comedy circle, and pretty much anyone floating in that orbit, has been slowly self-destructing over the past year, with drama popping up left and right and people exposing themselves without even realizing it. And what makes this whole situation even wilder is how fast the internet started connecting all the chaos back to Akaash himself, like he somehow set this entire mess in motion without meaning to. Every time a new clip of his wife drops, people start pulling up old interviews, old podcast moments, old jokes he made, everything, trying to piece together how long the cracks have been there. And honestly, when you look back, the signs were sitting right in front of everybody. You can literally see moments where he tries to hype her up or make her look better than she was acting, almost like he wanted the world to see a version of her that didn't even match how she behaved on camera. It's wild how clear it is now. Meanwhile, she's out here going viral for the wrong reasons, talking about money, talking about other men, talking like marriage is just one big shopping trip, and the internet keeps eating it up because it's messy enough to feel unreal. And instead of calming things down, she keeps going, posting more clips, dropping more bold statements like she's trying to outdo her last one. Now Akaash is stuck running damage control every other day, pretending nothing is wrong, even though his face looks like he hasn't slept properly in months. And watching him smile through all this drama is almost painful, like seeing someone trying to hold up a building with one hand. The internet's not letting this go anytime soon, and honestly, the way things are unfolding, it feels like we're only getting started with the fallout from all of this. And the part that really sends this whole situation into another level is how the audience around him has completely changed. People who used to hype him up are now watching everything he does with a side eye, waiting to see if he'll finally admit how messy things have gotten behind the scenes. You can almost feel the tension every time he shows up online, like he's carrying a whole weight on his shoulders. What makes it even harder for him is that comedy fans are some of the quickest people to call out fake energy, and they're already pointing out how different he acts now compared to a year ago. He used to joke around with this loud, confident vibe, and now he smiles like he's trying to convince himself everything's cool when it's definitely not. Meanwhile, people are starting to question whether his marriage is something he keeps defending because he wants to, or because he feels like he has no choice. And every new clip of her talking only brings more questions, more jokes, more theories, and more strangers trying to figure out what's going on inside his home. And the craziest part is that the internet doesn't even seem angry. They look entertained, like they're watching a live show where every episode gets more chaotic than the last. It's like this whole situation turned into a slow-motion meltdown that nobody can look away from. At this point, folks are just waiting for the moment when something major finally snaps, because the way things are going, it's hard to believe this story ends quietly. And honestly, in the last year, the entire comedian world around the Rogan circle has been falling apart. If you go look at the flagrant comment section right now, it is a battlefield. People are going after Akaash nonstop, calling him watered down, calling him out for everything, dragging him in every way possible. It's like the audience put him on the grill and forgot to take him off because he is absolutely cooked down. But anyway, thank you for sticking with me through this breakdown. If you enjoyed this wild ride, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment because I want to hear what you think about this whole situation. Your reactions always keep these conversations alive. I appreciate you for watching, and more stories like this are coming, so stay locked in.